A lot of the time when you tell people that you are a reptile owner, one of the first questions that they will immediately ask is, are they poisonous? And you then get to do the smug thing of saying, no, nothing is poisonous actually. There is, however, a lot of animals that are venomous, and then it leads to a very smart arse type of conversation that people end up just walking away from. But no, my ball python, Rex, my crested gecko, Grogu, and my leopard gecko, Ahsoka, are not venomous animals, and I have no desire at all to keep any form of venomous animal for the rest of my life, mainly because I value my own health. However, there is an entire community of people who keep a variety of venomous animals, not just reptiles, and it's something that's always fascinated me. Now, a couple of months ago, I did a video about the top 5 hardest reptiles to keep, and number 1 on that list was anything venomous. And I reached out to the venomous community on Reddit, and they were lovely about it. They kind of started speaking to me about why people do this and the kind of benefits that come with that. So that got me thinking. I've just got this little guy who poses no danger to my life at all. And to be honest, even if he was venomous, I think he wouldn't know what to do with it. However, I wanted to find out why people end up keeping and caring for venomous animals. So a few months ago, I posed the question to the venomous keepers community over on Reddit, and here are some of the replies I got. I just want to quickly say, I have huge respect for the venomous community, or those who keep HOTS, as it's often called in the reptile community. This is not done in any way to kind of mock or question why people would do this. Also, venomous keeping is incredibly crucial in terms of maintaining anti-venom and just generally understanding how venomous creatures live and thrive, and it is so beneficial. So, venomous keepers do a very important job. So the first one that we have here is actually quite a lovely little detailed paragraph saying, I'm just going to throw my 2 cents in and hope I don't get downvoted. My wife and I got into keeping reptiles a long while ago. We started off with bearded dragons while studying in college. After college, we continued working with animals and got into snakes because we already worked with snakes at the facility we consulted for. We started with a corn snake. After that, we kept getting more snakes, each one more niche in its care. We got ball pythons. There's Rex. Then got indigo snakes, hognose snakes. Hello, yes, I was speaking about you. Each time we learned as much as we could about what we got. My wife finally got the chance to attend a venomous snake handling training done by the Rattlesnake Conservancy because the wildlife centre she now works for got rattlesnakes in. She came back with a wealth of knowledge and then helped teach me. After that, one of the rattlesnakes at the centre had babies and we were given the chance to take one home since my wife had been working with the venomous reptiles and had the training. We thought it through for weeks and decided it was the right time to step into that part of the hobby. A lot of it has to do with always wanting to learn more about reptiles. Each is unique, each is special. That's the answer I have at least. That's an amazing answer because it kind of, as I say, follows on from the research aspect that I was speaking about that is so key for venomous keepers. Now, Rex has decided to get really bored and wants to now just leave, so I've no idea how long he'll be sticking around in this video for. He might just doss about. But this guy, for example, has a lot of research on them. Ball pythons are some of the most easily to understand snakes there are because of the plethora of them, whereas venomous snakes and venomous reptiles and venomous animals generally are a bit more misunderstood. So it's really important that we have people like that to keep going, keep researching, and then you just do find a passion for them. Right, Rex has now just got himself wrapped around my neck, so hold on. That's a wee bit better. Now we can move on to another point. This one's a bit more serious and about kind of them as people, where they're speaking about how the kind of mental aspect of your own life. Working with venomous means you have to be on it, you have to be fully straight on focused on them, and as a result, it can help you focus on yourself, really, which is amazing. Like, other people spoke about the fact that you have to be really calm and focused in the hobby, and that can really help you because it helps block everything else out in your life, which, like, that's a big reason why I love reptiles generally, and kind of looking after them, because it can be a nice distraction, to be honest. But there's an element of I don't have to be super focused when I'm handling. For example, I can just let Rex do whatever he wants and I know he's going to be okay. Whereas a venomous snake, you can't do that. You have to be on it. So that's something I hadn't actually considered before, which is really interesting. The next point that came up came up a lot, which was, I don't keep venomous snakes because they're venomous. The snake I like most just happens to also be venomous. So that's a big thing. Ball pythons are my favourite snakes, right? Pythons and boas are in particular, I absolutely love, but ball pythons are my favourite snakes. So it just so happened that my favourite snake wasn't venomous. If my favourite snake was a king cobra or anything, a rattlesnake, a timber rattlesnake, for example, then yeah, it would just be a coincidence that my favourite snake was also venomous. I do think there's this assumption, especially from people outside the community, who think, oh, the reason you're keeping a venomous animal is because they're venomous. You like that thrill, you like the kind of danger. Whereas for some people, it would be like, no, I just like an animal. And this goes for amphibians, this goes for reptiles generally. It's not just snakes I'm speaking about here. It can just be, that's my favourite one. And just as a side note, they're also venomous, so that's something that I have to take into consideration. Again, someone else said, I work with them because it's very interesting to observe their intelligence daily. Now, you do tend to get that where the more venomous a snake is in particular, then the more intelligent they seem to be. That is not always the case, I absolutely promise you. And then on the reverse, reticulated pythons are shown to be incredibly intelligent, and they're not venomous in any way. But a lot of venomous snakes, for example, the king cobra, are the most intelligent snake that we know of. So that is a different level of engagement, because you feel like, I imagine, that you can engage with it on a much more literal basis. Whereas this little guy is definitely not the most intelligent, as you just saw as he got stuck around my neck and he started to panic. Yes, you. Another answer gives an interesting point where they are on the same sort of lines, saying that the ideal pet just happens to be venomous, but they don't like dealing with diets involving vegetables or insects, and their partner's terrified of snakes. It can just be that other animals aren't as appealing and can actually be outright scary. And I know that kind of seems redundant, where you're like, but surely it's scary to deal with something that can actually kill you. However, a lot of people don't like insects. I have to keep dubia roaches, mealworms, crickets, all that kind of stuff, alongside having a leopard gecko and a crested gecko, because, well, Ahsoka's care is entirely insect based, and then Grogu every so often also gets an insect as a bit of variety in his meals. For so many people, that can put off, even if they're not scared of the actual gecko, they don't like the idea of having boxes of insects in their house. So it can actually be that non-venomous snakes, like this little idiot, are more scary to someone, even though he can't do anything to you, than, say, a highly venomous reptile or amphibian or something like that. And finally, I'll kind of end on this point. This person said, to educate and prevent euthanasia / killings of our amazing native species. Now, this is the big thing. As a reptile owner, you spend your life being told how scary your pets are, how awful your pets are, how people would be very happy. What was that? I've no idea what that was. But when they move like that and things of that nature, that they're very happy to tell you that they would kill your pet if they had the chance. And it's awful, really. It's really not fun. And that goes tenfold for venomous animals. Venomous animals are incredibly crucial to an ecosystem, especially where they are native. So people who keep venomous reptiles, as I said at the start, or just any animals at all, are really doing an essential service. I mean that if they are properly educated, actually understand what's going on and the behaviour of the animal, and can do that. There are, of course, some people, like everybody, who just make mistakes and are in it for their own personal gain. But the vast majority of people, I imagine, especially who keep venomous, are there to better the animals, better the education of people with animals as well. So has this discussion made me ever want to get venomous reptiles? No. That is not something that I have ever got an interest in. I think actually, in particular in the UK, it's illegal unless you have very specific permits. But what it has done is made me respect the venomous community even more and be incredibly thankful for them, especially if I end up in a country where I need anti-venom for something and they are the only way that I can get it. Massive thank you for watching. Thank you, Rex, as well, for being here, even though you've just been trying to focus on everything else except me, and now he's off again. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Bye.